the first segment, we were talking all about wills. Now let's get into trust. First, what's the difference between a will and a trust, and why is that important?
Okay, so one of the major differences between a will and a trust is that a will does not avoid probate, whereas a properly drafted and properly funded living trust will avoid probate upon your death.
So probate, let's get into that. Why would I want to avoid it?
Well, because probate is a very long, a very expensive process, especially here in California. In fact, we win the award for having the longest and most expensive probate process in the country.
What would you say, let's say if an individual goes through probate, what length of time are we talking about? Years?
It can turn into years, but usually the length of time is about between 12 and 18 months. But if any problems pop up, so that's a very straightforward probate, if any problems pop up, it can turn into years very quickly.
So it's expensive, public record, takes a long time. So let's say, who could just get by with maybe just a will then?
Okay.
Because it sounds like most people want to avoid that. A will does not avoid that. Is there certain individuals that would just go with a will?
Yeah, there are certain individuals, and the type of individuals that can typically get away with just having a will are folks that don't own any real estate and they have assets less than $150,000. But that's certainly not a blanket statement, because there's other advantages to having a trust besides just trying to avoid probate.
All right, so let's get into the trust. What are the advantages there? What is a trust, and what are the components of that?
Okay, so one of the other major advantages besides avoiding probate with a living trust is the incapacity planning. So what should happen, how should your assets be handled in the event of your incapacitation? And a lot of times folks will use durable power of attorneys, which you had already talked about earlier, which we do use, but we find that a lot of financial institutions reject those documents because there is so much abuse. So we now have moved a lot of the enhanced provisions over into the living trust in order to handle someone's financial affairs when they're incapacitated.